river was shrouded in thick mist, curling like ghostly fingers across the dark water. The village of Lancre lay quietly on the banks, its wooden houses worn by time and whispered tales of the supernatural. Tonight, the river held a secret, one that had haunted the locals for generations. At the heart of this restless night, Captain Elias Vance stood on the deck of the old fishing vessel Silver Dawn. His eyes, sharp yet weary, scanned the swirling fog ahead. Just hours ago, a sudden landslide had almost capsized the boat, but somehow, it had steadied, much to the crew's relief. "Did anyone else see that?" whispered Mara, the youngest crew member, her voice trembling. She pointed toward a faint, flickering glow emerging from the mist. Elias squinted but saw nothing. "There. Right there, in the middle of the river. A bright light. Not a lantern, something else." Elias frowned. "Are you sure it wasn't just your eyes playing tricks?" Mara shook her head vigorously. "No. It was blinding, like a fire burning just beneath the surface. And there was a figure on a small wooden boat dressed all in white, standing still, watching us." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The river was no stranger to strange stories, but few dared speak openly about the White Rider, a spirit said to ferry souls lost between worlds. Suddenly, the boat jolted again as the riverbed shifted beneath them, threatening another collapse. Elias barked orders, steering Silver Dawn carefully away from the unstable shore. The crew's panic gave way to tense focus. As the boat moved to safety, the glowing figure vanished without a trace. Elias rubbed his aching back, the lingering pain a dull reminder of how close they'd come to disaster. Mara looked at him, eyes wide. "Captain, do you feel it too? That presence?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Something's here. Watching us." That night, under a sky streaked with restless clouds and punctuated by distant thunder, Elias sat alone on the deck, nursing a cup of bitter tea. The river whispered ancient secrets, and the memory of the spectral light gnawed at his mind. Just as he was about to retreat below deck, a soft voice called out from the shadows. "Captain Vance, you're not alone." Startled, Elias turned toward the dim outline of an old man stepping onto the deck. His weathered face was etched with lines of hardship and wisdom. The man's eyes gleamed with knowing. "I am Bartholomew," he said, voice low and steady. "I have watched these waters longer than you've been alive. That light you saw is no accident. The river holds a curse, one born of betrayal and bloodshed." Elias leaned in, heart pounding. "Tell me." Bartholomew sighed, then began a tale older than the village itself, a story of greed, dark magic, and restless spirits doomed to roam the river forever. He spoke of a powerful sorcerer named Malric who had sought immortality by binding souls to his will, creating the phantom tide that trapped anyone who dared cross the river after dusk. The crew listened, rapt and fearful. Mara whispered, "So the white figure is a guardian, and a warning, Bartholomew said grimly. Those who see it are marked. The curse will test their courage, unravel their secrets, and demand a price. Elias clenched his fists. Then we must be ready. No one on my crew will fall victim. But the river had already chosen its players, weaving threads of fate none could escape. Shadows moved beneath the water, eyes watched from the darkness, and the silent light waited to strike again. The morning sun struggled to pierce through the heavy fog that clung stubbornly to the river. The village of Lancre seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something inevitable to unfold. On board the Silver Dawn, the crew moved with a restless energy, still shaken from the events of the previous night. Elias paced the deck, his mind racing. Bartholomew's tale echoed in his head, a curse born of ancient bloodshed, a sorcerer's dark ambition, and spirits trapped between worlds. But the captain was no stranger to danger. He knew that understanding the curse was only the first step. Mara, Elias called, prepare the crew. We need to search the river thoroughly. No stone unturned. If this curse has marked us, we'll face it head on. Mara nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. Captain, I'll gather the best hands. Below deck, a figure watched quietly from the shadows, a stranger who had arrived at dawn. Her name was Selene, a mystic with secrets etched deep into her soul. Draped in dark robes embroidered with symbols unknown to the villagers, she exuded an aura of quiet power. Elias had met Selene only hours ago when she appeared at the village edge, claiming knowledge of the curse and offering help. Her words were cryptic but sincere. The river's curse is more than just spirits, she said softly. It feeds on fear, twisting reality, and binding souls. To break it, we must confront the source, the sorcerer Malric's legacy. Elias studied her carefully. Trust was scarce here, but something in her eyes convinced him she was genuine. As the crew prepared to launch smaller boats to scour the riverbanks, an eerie chill swept over the Silver Dawn. The water around them darkened unnaturally, and whispers, barely audible, floated on the breeze. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the morning calm. From the far shore, a fisherman named Tomasz stumbled toward the dock, eyes wild with terror. The river. It took my brother. He gasped. He was pulling in nets when a shadow dragged him beneath the water. I swear it wasn't natural. The crew exchanged grim looks. Elias stepped forward. Gather a search party. We move now. Selene closed her eyes briefly and murmured an incantation, her fingers tracing symbols in the air. The spirits grow restless. Malric's power stirs again. We have little time. As boats cut through the misty river, Elias noticed strange shapes lurking beneath the surface, flickers of movement, too fluid to be fish, too sinister to ignore. Suddenly, a hand burst from the water, grasping at the side of his boat. The crew recoiled in horror, but Elias grabbed a nearby oar and struck fiercely, sending the apparition retreating beneath the waves. "It's coming for us," Mara shouted, eyes wide. Seleni's voice rang out, steady and commanding. "Hold fast. The curse feeds on fear, do not let it take root in your hearts." Hours passed in a tense battle against unseen forces. Several crew members reported visions, loved ones lost, impossible paths, whispers promising power in exchange for surrender. One by one, the crew's resolve was tested. Tomash brother was never found, swallowed by the river's dark grip. The village's fears deepened, and rumors swirled of the phantom tide reclaiming what was owed. Back on the Silver Dawn, Elias convened a council. "We need more than brute force. Selene, what is this Malrik's legacy? How do we end this nightmare?" Selene's eyes flickered with sorrow. Malrik was not just a sorcerer, he was a man consumed by his own darkness. He created the curse as a tether to immortality, binding souls to his will. To free them, we must find his relic, the Obsidian heart, hidden somewhere along the river, guarded by his most loyal spirits. Elias clenched his jaw. "Then that's where we go. We break the curse at its root or perish trying." As night fell, the river seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Shadows lengthened and twisted into forms both grotesque and sorrowful. The Silver Dawn's lanterns flickered uncertainly, casting trembling light on faces etched with fear and determination. Mara stood by Elias' side, whispering, "Captain, whatever lies ahead, we stand with you." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of leadership pressing on him like the oppressive night air. Unseen beneath the water, the curse stirred, waiting for its moment to strike again. The air was thick with tension as the crew of the Silver Dawn prepared for their most perilous journey yet. The search for Malrik's relic, the Obsidian heart, had become an obsession, a desperate hope to lift the curse that plagued their village and river. Elias gathered his closest allies in the cramped captain's cabin. Selene unfurled an ancient map, its edges cracked and stained with time. Symbols marked along the winding river indicated places of power and dark history. "This," Selene said, pointing to a jagged bend shrouded in mist, "is the Rift of Shadows. The relic is said to be hidden deep within the drowned ruins beneath those waters." Mara swallowed hard. "No one who's gone there has ever returned." Bartholomew, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "The rift is a gateway, a thin veil between our world and the realm Malrik bound his magic to. The spirits there are restless and furious." Elias nodded grimly. "Then that's where we'll go." As the Silver Dawn approached the rift, the river grew colder, the water unnaturally still. An oppressive silence wrapped the crew like a suffocating shroud. Shadows danced beneath the surface, and the mist thickened, swallowing all sound. Suddenly, the water erupted as ghostly figures surged forth, apparitions of those claimed by the curse. Their hollow eyes locked onto the crew, silent screams frozen on their pale faces. The first attack came swiftly. Spectral hands reached from the depths, clawing at the sides of the boats. Crew members fought desperately, wielding holy talismans and weapons blessed by Selene. "Hold the line," Elias shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. He swung his sword at a phantom, the blade shimmering with an ethereal light. Selene chanted incantations, weaving protective wards that pulsed against the spirit's assaults. "They're tethered to Malrik's magic," she explained between spells. "We must sever those ties." Mara, heart-pounding, steered a smaller boat towards the ruins barely visible beneath the water. Her eyes caught a flicker of faint glow emanating from beneath an ancient stone archway. "There!" she called. "That must be the relic." Elias and Selene joined her as the spirits closed in. The crew fought with desperation, each second bought with blood and willpower. Diving beneath the water, Selene's hands brushed the cold stone, tracing the runes carved eons ago. The obsidian heart lay cradled in a sunken altar, an orb of swirling darkness, pulsing with malevolent energy. As Selene reached for it, a deafening roar shattered the water. From the depths emerged a colossal shadow, the wraith of Malrik, bound in eternal torment but fueled by rage. The battle that followed was unlike anything the crew had faced. Elias grappled with the monstrous wraith, steel against shadow, while Selene fought to contain the relic's power. Mara, spotting a fragile chain binding the wraith to the obsidian heart, shouted, "Cut the chain. That's its anchor." Summoning every ounce of courage, Mara dove through the chaos, severing the dark chain with the blessed dagger. The wraith screamed, a sound that echoed through the river and pierced the night sky. The water churned violently as the curse's hold weakened. Selene grasped the obsidian heart, its power collapsing into a radiant light that washed over the river and village alike. When dawn broke, the mist lifted, revealing a river calm and pure for the first time in decades. The crew, battered but victorious, returned to Lancre with hope rekindled. Yet, as Elias watched the sun rise, a chill ran down his spine. For curses born of darkness do not vanish so easily. And somewhere, deep within the shadows, a new power stirred. The village of Lancre awoke to a rare silence. The river, once a turbulent corridor of sorrow and death, now flowed peacefully beneath the golden morning sun. The curse that had haunted the waters for generations seemed to have lifted, at least for now. Captain Elias Vance stood on the dock, gazing across the shimmering surface. Beside him, Selene carefully secured the obsidian heart in a sealed wooden chest, its dark pulse dim but ominous. Yet, despite the calm, a shadow lingered in Elias's mind. He had faced many battles, but the battle against Malrik's dark legacy was far from over. In the days following the relic's retrieval, strange happenings began to ripple through the village. Crops withered overnight, livestock vanished without a trace, and villagers whispered of eerie lights flickering at the river's edge. One evening, as twilight bathed the land in purple hues, Mara hurried to Elias's cabin, breathless and wide-eyed. "Captain, you need to see this," she urged. "At the old chapel, near the forest's edge. There's something unnatural." Elias followed, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. At the chapel, a circle of scorched earth surrounded a crumbling altar. Strange runes, unlike any Selene had seen, were etched into the stone. "This is no ordinary magic," Selene said, her voice grave. "Someone or something is awakening a force older than Malric." As night deepened, the villagers gathered, fearful yet curious. Bartholomew stepped forward, his weathered face pale. "Long ago," he began, "before Malric's curse, there was a guardian spirit of the river, a protector who kept balance. But Malric's dark magic shattered that balance, imprisoning the spirit in shadow." Selene nodded. "Now, with the obsidian heart disturbed, the guardian spirit stirs. But its awakening is unstable, torn between vengeance and protection." Suddenly, a chilling howl echoed through the forest, followed by a cascade of glowing eyes watching from the darkness. Elias drew his sword, eyes scanning the tree line. "We need to prepare. Whatever comes, we face it together." In the following days, Mara uncovered ancient texts hinting at a way to communicate with the guardian spirit, a ritual requiring a rare flower that bloomed only once a year deep within the haunted woods. Determined, Elias, Mara, Selene, and Bartholomew embarked on a perilous journey into the forest. The path was fraught with traps and phantoms, illusions designed to turn wanderers mad. One night, as they camped beneath twisted trees, Selene shared her past, a lineage bound to the river's magic, a secret mission to restore the balance disturbed centuries ago. Their bond grew stronger amid the shadows, each step revealing more of the dark history entwined with their fates. At last, they reached the heart of the forest where the elusive flower bloomed, its petals glowing faintly like embers in the dark. As Selene began the ritual, the air shimmered. The guardian spirit appeared, a majestic figure of flowing water and light, its eyes filled with ancient sorrow. "You have disturbed the balance," it said, voice like rushing currents. "To restore peace, sacrifices must be made." Elias stepped forward, courage steady. "Tell us what must be done." The spirit's gaze fell upon the obsidian heart, then the villagers. "The curse's end demands more than breaking chains. It demands the healing of wounds long buried, betrayal, pain, and greed." Suddenly, a rip tore open in the sky, spilling shadows that twisted and writhed. Malric's lingering malice, bound to the relic, resisted its defeat. The group braced for the confrontation to come, knowing that their greatest challenge lay ahead. The sky above Lancre had turned a bruised purple, thick clouds roiling with unnatural energy. The rift that had torn open during the ritual pulsed like a living wound, spilling tendrils of shadow across the land. The very air tasted of fear and despair. Captain Elias Vance stood at the forefront of his crew, gazing into the abyss that threatened to consume their world. Beside him, Selene's eyes flickered with arcane light, her voice steady despite the tempest. "The Rift of Shadows is a gateway to the realm where Malric's spirit lingers," she explained. "If we do not seal it, the darkness will flood the river, the village, and beyond." Mara gripped her dagger tightly. "What can we do? How do we close it?" Bartholomew stepped forward, his old hands trembling. There is a way, but it is perilous. We must enter the rift itself, confront the torment within, and retrieve the lost flame, the only power capable of sealing the darkness. Elias nodded. Then we have no choice. We face it head on. The group gathered ancient relics, talismans, and protective charms. Selene performed a complex chant, weaving a portal of shimmering blue light upon the riverbank. As the rift beckoned like a gaping maw, Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward, Mara, Selene, and Bartholomew following without hesitation. The moment they crossed the threshold, the world shifted. The river's gentle current became a raging torrent, and the sky bled stars into black voids. They found themselves in a realm suspended between life and death, the shadow realm. The air was thick with sorrow and echoes of lost souls. Suddenly, whispers surrounded them, voices of the damned, souls caught in Malric's cruel web. Leave, or be trapped forever, hissed a disembodied voice. Elias raised his sword, its blade glowing faintly. We do not fear. We come for the lost flame. A figure emerged from the shadows, a twisted specter, half man, half shadow, eyes blazing with hatred. You trespass in my domain, it growled. To leave alive, you must pass the trial of souls. Selene stepped forward. We accept. The trial began, a harrowing journey through visions of past regrets, betrayals, and darkest fears. Each member faced their inner demons. Mara was confronted by the image of her lost family, trapped by the curse she sought to end. Bartholomew relived the guilt of failing to protect his ancestors from Malric's rise. Elias was shown a terrifying future where Lancre was swallowed by darkness, his leadership in ruins. Through sheer will and the bonds between them, they overcame each vision, their hearts steeled by hope and resolve. Finally, at the heart of the realm, the lost flame hovered above a stone pedestal, a pure, radiant light that pulsed with the power to mend what was broken. As Elias reached out, the specter lunged, a final attempt to claim their souls. A fierce battle erupted. Steel clashed with shadow, magic blazed against darkness. Selene chanted ancient words, weaving protective barriers. Mara darted with precision, striking the specter's weak points. Elias's sword pierced the shadow's core, dispersing it into a cascade of fading embers. With the specter defeated, Elias grasped the lost flame. Its warmth spread through them, healing wounds seen and unseen. The group hurried back through the portal as the rift began to close behind them, the darkness receding. Back in Lancre, the river gleamed under the renewed sunlight. The curse was lifting, but Elias knew the battle was far from over. For somewhere in the shadows, the true mastermind watched, waiting for his moment to return. The victory at the Rift of Shadows was a beacon of hope for Lancre, but beneath the surface, an unsettling tension simmered. Though the lost flame now pulsed with healing light over the river, darkness never truly vanished, it merely retreated, biding its time. Captain Elias Vance returned to the village to find it fractured. Fear and suspicion had taken root among the villagers, spreading like wildfire. Whispers of betrayal, accusations of witchcraft, and rumors of hidden enemies stoked the fires of unrest. At the heart of this chaos, Selene sensed a far greater threat than Malric's restless spirit. Her visions revealed a shadowy figure manipulating events from afar, a puppet master weaving threads of deception and chaos. One night, as the village slept uneasily, Elias convened a council in the great hall. The wooden beams creaked with age, mirroring the fragile state of their resolve. "We have broken one chain, but another binds us still," Elias began. "Our enemies are not only spirits and curses, they are those who seek power by turning us against each other." Bartholomew nodded solemnly. The rift was only the beginning. There is a dark force among us, a living evil. Mara stood, eyes fierce. "We must root out the puppet master before this village tears itself apart." Selene closed her eyes and chanted softly, summoning visions of the past and present. Flickering images showed a man cloaked in shadow, his hands stained with blood and magic, orchestrating tragedies. "The name he goes by is Kalen," she whispered. "Once Malric's apprentice, now a master of manipulation. He thrives on fear and division." Elias's jaw clenched. "Where is he now?" Selene's eyes snapped open, glowing with urgency. "Closer than we think. Watching. Waiting for us to falter." The following days were a tense cat-and-mouse game. Strange accidents plagued the village, friends turned suspicious of one another, old wounds reopened. Elias, Mara, Selene, and Bartholomew split into teams to investigate. They uncovered hidden altars, cursed relics planted to sow discord, and whispers of a secret cult devoted to Kalen's dark ambitions. In a daring raid on a secluded cabin, Mara found cryptic writings hinting at a ritual to bind the obsidian heart permanently to Kalen's wool. Elias's blood ran cold. "If that happens, all our sacrifices will be for nothing." Selene placed a calming hand on his shoulder. "Then we strike first." As the moon rose high, the group prepared for confrontation. Armed with ancient magic, steel, and unbreakable will, they ventured into the shadowed forest where Kalen's followers gathered. The air was thick with malevolence. Chanting echoed through the trees, punctuated by flashes of dark energy. Suddenly, Kalen emerged, a tall figure draped in flowing black robes, eyes burning with cruel intelligence. "Welcome, heroes," he sneered. "You think yourselves saviors. You are but pawns in a game far beyond your understanding." Elias stepped forward. "Your reign ends here." Kalen laughed, a sound that chilled the bone. "We shall see." The battle erupted, magic against magic, steel against shadow. Kalen summoned horrors from the depths, twisted beasts, illusions that tore at the mind, and shadows that clawed for their souls. Selene's spells shimmered like stars, warding off the darkness, while Mara's blades flashed with deadly precision. Elias faced Kalen directly, their swords clashing in a dance of light and shadow. As the fight reached its peak, Kalen unleashed a devastating curse aimed at the obsidian heart itself. But the relic, now attuned to the lost flame's power, pulsed brighter, shielding Elias and his allies. With a final surge of strength, Elias drove Kalen back, forcing him to retreat into the blackness. The village breathed a tentative sigh of relief, but the victory was bittersweet. For Kalen's shadow lingered still, and the true war was only beginning. The days that followed Kalen's retreat were restless. The village of Lancashire, though momentarily safe, teetered on the edge of chaos. The puppet master's shadow had spread deeper than anyone imagined, weaving a web of deceit that threatened to unravel everything Elias and his allies fought to protect. Elias convened a secret meeting beneath the ancient oaks near the riverbank. Selene, Mara, Bartholomew, and a handful of trusted villagers gathered, their faces etched with exhaustion and determination. "We pushed Kalen back," Elias began, "but his influence is still alive, hidden among us." Selene nodded gravely. "His power lies not only in dark magic but in manipulation. We must find his followers before they strike again." Mara unfurled a map marked with strange symbols and locations of recent disturbances. "There are pockets of resistance, villagers acting strangely, disappearances, and eerie sightings near the abandoned temple." Bartholomew rubbed his beard thoughtfully. "The temple is sacred ground, once a place of protection. Kalen's cult defiling it is a bad omen." Suddenly, a chilling howl pierced the night air, followed by a scream from the nearby woods. Without hesitation, the group grabbed their weapons and raced toward the sound. They arrived to find a young woman trembling, eyes wide with terror. "They took my brother," she sobbed. "They dragged him into the temple." Selene's eyes narrowed. "We must act fast." Inside the temple's crumbling halls, shadows flickered, and whispers echoed like ghostly prayers. The air was thick with dark energy, palpable and suffocating. As they ventured deeper, strange glyphs pulsed with an eerie glow, casting sinister light upon their faces. In the heart of the temple, they found an altar adorned with corrupted relics and a circle of chanting cultists clad in black robes. At their center stood Kalen's second-in-command, a ruthless sorcerer named Varek, his eyes gleaming with malice. "You dare defile this place?" Bartholomew growled. Varek smiled cruelly. "The old gods are dead. Kalen will usher in a new era of power and darkness." A fierce battle erupted. Magic and steel clashed amid the sacred ruins. Mara's agility and Selene's spellcraft kept the cultists at bay, while Elias confronted Varek. The sorcerer unleashed bolts of dark energy, but Elias's sword, infused with the lost flame, absorbed the strikes. With a roar, Elias closed the distance, their blades meeting in a shower of sparks. Suddenly, Varek summoned a shadow beast, a towering creature formed of smoke and despair. The beast lunged at Elias, knocking him back. Mara darted forward, slashing at its tendrils, buying Elias time to recover. Selene chanted fiercely, weaving a binding spell that slowed the beast's movements. Together, they struck a coordinated blow, shattering the creature into wisps of darkness. Varek screamed in fury, retreating into the shadows with a vow, "This is far from over." The group freed the captured villagers, including the young woman's brother, who was weak but alive. Outside, dawn broke, casting light on the battered but unbroken heroes. Yet, as they emerged, a figure watched from the tree. Lean Kalen himself, eyes burning with cold fury, plotting his next move. The village of Lankar had barely caught its breath when a chilling new threat emerged, not from the shadows of the forest, but from within its own people. Whispers of betrayal echoed through the wooden homes as neighbors eyed each other with suspicion. Captain Elias Vance sensed the growing unrest. The scars left by Kalen's cult ran deeper than they had imagined. He convened a gathering at the old hall, but the atmosphere was thick with tension and fear. Selene's gaze swept the crowd. The darkness is not only outside us, it is seated within. Kalen's influence reaches into hearts and minds. We must be vigilant, for enemies wear familiar faces. Mara stepped forward, her voice steady. We need to root out the traitors before they can strike again. That night, under a veil of thunder and rain, strange lights flickered across the river's surface, portals of shadow opening and closing like wounds in the fabric of reality. The lost flame's glow waned, a warning that the battle was far from over. Elias and his trusted crew patrolled the village, their senses heightened. Suddenly, a scream shattered the night. Rushing toward the sound, they found an elder named Joran collapsed near the riverbank, clutching a bleeding wound. He tried to warn me, Joran gasped. Kalen's followers, they're everywhere. And they have spies within our own council. Selene knelt beside him, pressing herbs to his wound. Who? Joran's eyes fluttered shut, but a whispered name escaped his lips: Lorcan. Shock rippled through the group. Lorcan, a respected elder and advisor, was now suspect. The next days were a tense dance of secrecy and suspicion. Elias sought to confront Lorcan, but the man had vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Mara uncovered a hidden chamber beneath the village chapel, a labyrinth of ancient tunnels etched with dark sigils and echoes of forbidden rituals. Selene deciphered the symbols. These tunnels are a nexus of power for Kalen's cult. From here, they manipulate the very ley lines beneath the village. Elias's jaw tightened. Then cutting off their power at the source is our only chance. As the storm clouds gathered, the group prepared to descend into the labyrinth. Within the twisting passages, they faced traps, both physical and magical, whispers that turned friends into foes, visions that preyed on their deepest fears. At the labyrinth's heart, Kalen awaited, flanked by loyal cultists and dark spirits. You think you can end me? He sneered. I am eternal, born of shadow and chaos. The ensuing battle was brutal and unforgiving. Elias fought with every ounce of strength, Selene's magic pushing against the darkness, and Mara's blades flashing like lightning. In a desperate moment, Elias was separated, trapped in a cage of spectral chains that sapped his strength. Selene and Mara fought to reach him, but Kalen's power surged, threatening to overwhelm them all. Just as hope waned, Bartholomew appeared, wielding an ancient relic of light, disrupting the shadows and breaking Elias free. With renewed vigor, Elias charged Kalen, their final confrontation igniting the very foundations of the labyrinth. As Kalen fell, the cult's power shattered, the tunnels collapsing around them. Emerging from the wreckage, the villagers found dawn breaking an end to the darkness, or so it seemed. But far beyond Lancre, in the ruins of an ancient fortress, a new shadow stirred, eyes glowing with promise of a greater darkness to come. The village of Lancre basked in a fragile peace, the scars of recent battles slowly healing beneath the soft glow of dawn. Yet, beneath this calm, an unseen storm brewed, more sinister and cunning than any they had faced before. Captain Elias Vance stood atop the river's edge, gazing into the horizon where the morning mist danced with whispers of the past. His heart weighed heavy with the knowledge that victory over Kalen was but a momentary reprieve. Selene approached quietly, her voice a gentle murmur against the stillness. The darkness we defeated was only a fragment. Something far older, far greater, awakens beyond our sight. Mara joined them, her eyes sharp and vigilant. I've seen sign symbols carved into trees, shadows that move without source, and voices that speak from nowhere. Elias nodded grimly. Then we prepare. For whatever comes next, we face it united. That night, the village was rocked by an explosion of eerie lights and thunderous roars. From the depths of the ancient forest emerged creatures of nightmare, twisted forms woven from shadow and flame, eyes burning with malice. Elias rallied the villagers, weapons drawn and hearts steeled. The battle was unlike any before, the creatures moved with terrifying speed and intelligence. In the chaos, Mara found herself face to face with a being cloaked in darkness, its voice a seductive whisper promising power and freedom. Join me, it hissed. Together, we can rule this world and the next. But Mara's resolve was unbreakable. With a cry, she struck the creature down, her blade gleaming with the lost flame's light. Meanwhile, Selene sought the source of the invasion, a massive, ancient tree at the forest's heart, its bark pulsating with dark energy. Approaching cautiously, she found a sigil carved deep into the trunk, a seal that once held the Ebon King, a malevolent entity of primordial darkness. The Ebon King, Selene whispered. He was imprisoned centuries ago, and now his prison weakens. Elias and Selene combined their strength to reinforce the seal, but the effort drained them, leaving them vulnerable. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, the true mastermind behind the unrest, Kalen, seemingly resurrected, his power amplified by the Ebon King's awakening. Fools, he sneered. You think you can contain what you don't understand? The darkness is eternal, and it will consume all. The final confrontation erupted beneath the ancient tree, magic and steel clashing against shadow and flame. The villagers fought with desperation, but Kalen's newfound strength threatened to overwhelm them. In a moment of sacrifice, Bartholomew invoked an ancient rite, channeling the village's collective hope into a blinding light that shattered Kalen's form and sealed the Ebon King's prison once more. Exhausted but victorious, the villagers watched as peace returned, at least for now. But Elias knew that darkness, once awakened, never truly sleeps. The morning after the fierce battle beneath the ancient tree, the village of Lancre lay cloaked in a fragile calm. The sun rose over the river, casting long golden beams across the water, but beneath that serene surface, the currents of fate churned restlessly. Captain Elias Vance stood silently on the riverbank, his gaze distant as he contemplated the events that had transpired. Though the immediate threat had been quelled, the shadows cast by Kaelin and the Ebon King lingered still, a dark legacy that refused to be buried. Selene approached him, her expression somber but resolute. "We have bought peace for now, Elias, but the past is not so easily escaped. There are forces still at play, forces born from the darkest corners of history." Elias nodded slowly. "The battle may be over, but the war continues. We must understand where Kaelin came from if we hope to prevent the darkness from rising again." Their quest for answers led them deep into the archives of Lancre's oldest dwelling, where ancient manuscripts and faded scrolls chronicled the village's forgotten history. Bartholomew, despite his age, moved with surprising vigor as he sifted through the texts. "Here," he murmured, pulling out a brittle parchment. "This speaks of Malric's origins and of a bloodline cursed to carry his darkness." The room fell silent as Elias and Selene leaned closer, reading the faded script. The document told of a family once revered for their wisdom and power, but who had succumbed to Malric's influence. Their descendants were marked by fate, destined to struggle against the shadow within their own blood. Elias clenched his fists. Could Kaelin be one of them? Selene's eyes darkened. More than that. He is the culmination of Malric's legacy, the shadow that seeks to claim not only Lancre but the entire realm. As the truth settled over them, a chilling realization dawned. Elias himself bore the mark of this cursed bloodline, a secret hidden deep within his own ancestry. That night, plagued by dreams of shadowy figures and whispered warnings, Elias confided in Mara. "I fear my past may be tied to the darkness we fight." Mara took his hand, her voice steady. "Your past doesn't define you, Elias. It's your choices that will shape the future." Meanwhile, Selene performed rituals to unlock Elias's latent powers, guiding him through visions of his ancestors' triumphs and failures. The path ahead was treacherous, but with newfound strength, Elias prepared to face the coming storm. Yet, far from Lancre, in a forgotten fortress, the remnants of Kaelin's cult gathered. Their leader, a mysterious figure cloaked in shadows, spoke with quiet menace. "The bloodline awakens," he said. "Elias Vance carries the key to our ascendance. The final act approaches." Back in Lancre, as Elias embraced his destiny, the village prepared for a new dawn, one fraught with peril, sacrifice, and the hope that even in the darkest shadows, light could prevail. The wind howled through the ancient trees surrounding Lancre, carrying with it the scent of impending danger. The village, still nursing its wounds from the recent battles, braced itself against the gathering storm. Captain Elias Vance stood atop the ridge overlooking the river, the Obsidian heart secure in its sacred box at his side. Yet the weight of his bloodline's curse pressed heavily upon him. Selene approached quietly, her robes billowing in the gust. "The darkness stirs beyond the horizon," she warned. "Our enemies rally, fueled by the remnants of Kalen's cult and the shadows that still haunt your lineage." Mara tightened her grip on her blade, her eyes fierce with determination. "We've faced the worst already. We'll face whatever comes next, together." Deep within the village, the council gathered to devise a plan. The elders spoke of ancient prophecies and forgotten rites, suggesting that to break the curse once and for all, Elias must confront not only Kalen's remnants but also the darkness within his own. Blood. Bartholomew revealed a cryptic ritual, one that required the unification of 3 sacred relics spread across the lands: the Obsidian Heart, the Phoenix Feather, and the Silver Lotus. Each held power to bind or sever the ties of darkness. The journey to retrieve these relics would test the limits of their courage, loyalty, and strength. With no time to waste, Elias, Selene, Mara, and a select band of warriors set forth, venturing into unknown realms shadowed by danger and mystery. Along the way, they encountered spectral guardians, ancient puzzles, and fierce rivals who sought the relics for their own dark purposes. Each step revealed more about the intertwined fates of Elias and Kalen, the battle between light and shadow echoing through generations. As bonds of friendship deepened, secrets surfaced: hidden betrayals, long-lost kin, and sacrifices that would change the course of the war. The path was perilous, but the stakes had never been higher. The fate of Lancre, and perhaps the entire realm, depended on their success. The final dawn broke over Lancre, a fragile glow piercing through the heavy mist that had long enveloped the land. Captain Elias Vance stood atop the riverbank, the 3 sacred relics: the Obsidian Heart, the Phoenix Feather, and the Silver Lotus united in his hands, their combined power humming with ancient energy. Beside him, Selene chanted the ancient rites, her voice weaving through the morning air like a melody born of forgotten worlds. Mara and the villagers gathered, their faces a blend of hope, fear, and unyielding resolve. The air shimmered as the ground beneath them trembled. From the depths of the rift of shadows, a surge of darkness roared, the restless spirit of the Ebon King awakened one last time. Kalen's shadow flickered alongside, desperate and furious, his power fractured but not yet broken. Elias stepped forward, the weight of his bloodline's curse burning within him. "This ends now," he declared, voice steady and commanding. The relic's light flared, a brilliant cascade of energy bursting forth to meet the encroaching darkness. Shadows writhed, screams echoed, and the river itself seemed to roar in defiance. Kalen's form, twisted and grotesque, lunged toward Elias. Their clash was thunderous: steel against shadow, light against dark. Selene's magic pulsed through the relics, reinforcing Elias's strength. Mara fought alongside the villagers, holding back cultists and dark spirits desperate to reclaim their master's power. In the heart of the battle, Elias felt the darkness clawing at his soul, whispering doubts and fear. But the memories of his ancestors, the love of his friends, and the hope of his village fortified him. With a final, mighty strike, Elias drove his sword through Kalen's heart, the Obsidian Heart glowing fiercely, sealing the darkness forever. The rift closed with a blinding light, the curse lifted, and peace descending like a gentle rain. Days later, as the village healed, Elias stood watching the river's tranquil flow. The battle had left scars, but it had also forged unbreakable bonds. Selene approached, smiling softly. The darkness will always exist, but so will the light. Mara joined them, laughter bright as the morning sun. Together, they faced the future warriors not only of battle but of hope. Lancre was free. Title: The Phantom Tide, Curse of the Obsidian Heart. Description: In the mist-shrouded village of Lancre, a dark curse born from ancient sorcery threatens to consume everything. Captain Elias Vance and his allies must unravel the mystery of the Obsidian Heart, a relic of immense power, to confront Malric's lingering spirit and the malevolent puppet master, Kalen. As shadows rise and secrets of bloodlines unfold, they face terrifying trials across haunted rivers, cursed temples, and forgotten forests. This is a tale of courage, betrayal, and sacrifice, where the battle between light and darkness will decide the fate of an entire realm. Will Elias break the curse and restore peace, or will the Phantom Tide claim them all?